It's Dr. Tennant's Verbal Highs. Let's start the show with Lewis Tennant. Here we go. Guests and interviews that you're looking for with creators, innovators, and so much more. For all episodes and further info, verbalhighs.com is the place to go.
All right, welcome to Dr. Tennant's Verbal Highs, a podcast podcasted from a kitchen bench in Kingsland, which is in Auckland in this instance, in New Zealand. And it's been a while. It's been what's the expression? A long time between drinks. The last episode came via a sojourn to Wellington with Mr. Tim Ward, and the one before that with Daddy Lemon. Thanks for the feedback on those episodes. Copped a number of new stranger likes on the social medias, which I'll mention towards the end. Not the people that liked, but the places to like and subscribe. My guest this week is Ms. Justine Smith, a comedian and comedy writer based in Auckland, New Zealand, originally from Christchurch, which we talk about, a Disneyland connoisseur, which we talk about, got engaged on the teacups. Oh, that's an episode spoiler. Should let those nuggets play out live. We also got to, I think things like the profession of stand-up comedy and, let's face it, a number of kind of professions. Often I think it's not lazy journalism, if what I'm doing is any semblance of journalism, or lazy inquiry. But I was hesitant to go, so, being a woman in comedy, although I knew she was passionate on the subject because I've seen it come up before, and it sort of organically got there via other stuff we were discussing, which was good because Justine had some great insight. Not only because she's a woman, but because she had some great insight on some of the trials and tribulations of being essentially, I guess, a minority in such a profession and art form. I've just been watching the Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump, Dennis Rodman global event on the television. What a time to be alive. Rodman had a t-shirt on that I spotted straight away as some clever cash in pocket he'd organised before he left. It said potcoin.com, which I went to, which is a banking for the cannabis industry website. I mean, the world has changed when we just put that scenario together of what just emerged on the global stage between two leaders and a former basketball star. The only person on the planet who happens to be, would you say friends? I think he's friends with the Korean fellow. He certainly would have met the American fellow over the years. And what I took away from it all, if things like people in the public eye influence fashion and style, between Dennis and Kim and Donald, what a fascinating time for men's hairdressing. Like the show, Verbal Highs podcast on Facebook. It's been nice to see, as I say, the numbers going up. Verbal Highs on Twitter, and good old iTunes, which runs the podcast world. When I went, I'll do something indie, I realised you really do want to get a presence on iTunes. So comments and 5-star show ratings much encouraged. And also, of course, if you subscribe there, you get the RSS feed, so you get a notification when a new episode comes on up. And there'll be a few dropping shortly. I can't remember if I've said it this episode already, but I'm aiming for 26 this year, which is obviously roughly one every couple of weeks. So playing catch up because I'm between work contracts this week. And all things going to plan, I have 2 more people coming in tomorrow, but I can't tell you who they are because it's secret. Ladies and gentlemen, Justine Smith.
This is Dr. Tennant's Verbal Highs.
Let's do it.
Before I introduce you, I don't normally talk about news items of the day straight away, if at all. But a story's been really perplexing me. Have you looked at the news in the last 24 to 48?
What is it?
Sometimes
when I'm not on 7 days, sometimes I'm a little bit bad about looking at the news, I have to admit.
Oh, is that part of your... I suppose part of your job is you have to stay up with the news, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
The poo-poo jogger?
Oh, yeah, this is a great story. Although I worry that he's, not well mentally.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah,
it's raised so many questions for me.
Well, he's just some privileged old fuck who thinks he can shit where he likes.
Yeah, that's what have you seen the photo?
Yeah, I have.
So that's what's meaning. Is he in it for the kicks? You're asking all the same questions I am.
Yeah, he's in it for the kicks.
So he's not mentally ill then?
Who knows?
But then the thing is that people that aren't mentally ill like him, some doctor will plead that he is, right?
Yeah, but don't you have to be a bit fucked in the head to shit in a footpath? I mean, we've all done it once.
Did you see how I paused there?
I've shit in a footpath.
And I thought he's also, I mean, weird calling him a victim, but he's a victim of high pixelation cameras.
He sure is, but you know what, mate? In this day and age, you just can't get away with shit like you used to when I was in my 20s. Thank God there were no cell phones. That's all I'm going to say.
The other thing I wanted to ask was, do you think he's got a career ahead of him?
No, he's fucked. He's already had to resign from the council or whatever he was on. Wasn't he a council member?
So he, and if you work for him, do you, is there a going away card? If you're subservient to him,
he has just shamed his own name out. I mean, imagine being his kids or his wife or whatever.
If you were married to him, would you stay with him?
No. No, you're out, mate. You shit in a footpath in front of a camera. No, I'm not going to be Mrs. Poop the rest of my life. You know what I mean? You'd be tarnished by his actions.
And then the other thing was, I could do an hour of this, is I was thinking he will be, I was thinking of 7 days. It'll probably come up this week.
I think maybe we left it alone. I think maybe it might have, if it was going to be next week. Don't quote me on that though. Maybe. It might be one of the smaller stories on 7 days.
There'll be a piece on Jimmy Kimmel, maybe?
For sure.
Will it go to America?
Even Fallon, maybe. He doesn't really do topical news like that, does he?
Is it topical news?
It's topical news if you live in that apartment block.
The last thing I'll say, and good on them. I grew up and I know the significance of Neighbourhood Watch from the stickers, and what a team.
Stickers, those blue ones over the one yellow person.
Yeah, that's right. Pre 800 billion megapixel cameras, same method, but with a clear shot.
Bush justice, you may say.
That's right. I like how he carried toilet paper too.
Did he actually?
Yeah, in the photo he's holding a piece of toilet paper. You'd think he was fully dressed if you didn't see the bottom half of it.
Yeah,
and
he's wearing like a business shirt or something. Eh?
But the weird thing is, the look on his face when he was sprung is sort of like, it's not vindictive. It's not, and he said something almost very British, like "Ooh, crikey," when he saw the camera flash.
Maybe it's something really simple we've not thought of, like his toilet's broken.
We haven't been down the sexual gratification.
Didn't look like he was.
No,
it looked like he was just doing one job, if you know what I mean. My typical man, can't multitask. Like the woman, she'd be cracking it all out.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be back into the office with that box filling up with my stuff. I'd say I'd just leave my stuff there. I'd leave my stuff
one
there.
pot plantain, like a frame photo of your
gone.
dog.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch. Get me out of there.
The shame of it, eh? I just go, okay, I'm just going to drive to the airport now and go and move overseas.
Oh God, it's going to keep going. I thought it was going to wrap it up. And so, what about it's G-rated news? Let's say you've got a kid under 6 today. How do you explain that story to them?
Well, you just go, some adults never learn. You are much better than that stupid man.
They'd probably think, actually, it's right up their alley. They'd probably see the humour in it before all the other layers we have.
I mean, once or twice. It was ongoing, eh? Once or twice you can maybe understand. We've all been caught short, but yeah.
That's right. God bless you, Poo Poo Jogger. And even the title, I thought, I'd love to hear... I don't know if you ever saw a show called Gogglebox, but there's these two...
Oh, I love Gogglebox.
I'd love to hear the two West Indian women having a bit of a riff about the Poo Poo Jogger.
I'm obsessed with Gogglebox. Dan and I are obsessed with Gogglebox. It's so good. You love it or you hate it, though, eh?
We'll get to Dan later. By the way, Dan, it's been called. If you end up pooing in public regularly,
You're out, mate.
You're out.
Oh, you're out.
Justine,
I like regularly, like I'd put up with it a couple of times.
No, the reason I did that is because you conceded earlier on that you
Listen,
might
mate,
have done it once or twice. So I just mean if you think
I said nothing.
Oh goodness, Justine Smith is an award-winning. A lot of people are award-winning on here, and that's what I like. A Billy T Award, in
Yes,
fact,
long time
winning
ago now.
stand-up comedian. 10 years.
No, more. I won it in 2003.
Oh.
So you do the maths, Lewis. I really retarded. More than 10,
15.
let's go with.
Stand-up comedian and writer, recognised for appearances on anything from the Comedy Gala to Aotearoa to After Hours and Funny Girls, and as a panellist and I think as a writer as well on 7 Days.
You sound very busy.
You do. And a writer on
Yes, both of those.
Rhys Darby's Short Poppies.
Yes, I was. What a glorious, glorious affair that was.
What was that?
Short Poppies was Rhys playing a whole lot of different characters, a couple of women and 3 dudes, some of which were derived from a stand-up, but there was also a small team of writers who know Rhys really well, who worked on it, and I was one of them, and it was just your dream come true, having no holds barred on writing comedy like that. The only person telling us what to do was Rhys, who we were writing for. Usually there's producers and editors and blah-de-blah-de-blah. So it was just great.
Did he commission it and then a network picked it up based on the cult of Rhys?
Yes, I imagine so, yes. Yeah.
Are you still like good mates with him? Or is it a working relationship? Or
I messaged him the other day. Not in constant contact, but I was watching that Letterman show, My Next Guest, and it was with him and Jerry Seinfeld. And it just struck me that Rhys would really like to watch that because it was 2 old war dog comics talking about stand-up comedy with completely different points of view. And for some reason I just thought of Rhys, and so I messaged him and he messaged back. And
I really enjoyed... is that the one that started off with Obama? They had a few different...
Yeah, it is, and they've apparently had George Clooney. I've not watched that.
Yeah, that's the second one. I was reading about how it's really hard to get people to essentially watch a podcast, but I liked I haven't seen the one you talked about. I have to have a look at it.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I like the Obama and...
the Obama one was great.
Well, just the Obama and Dave Letterman one just made me go, fuck, Netflix are getting powerful.
Yeah, sure.
If they can get those two people,
yeah, made for Netflix,
on a stage for an hour.
Yeah.
Do you think? You might not know anything about the business side of it, but do you think Netflix will sustain itself? I heard they're throwing more money at things than they are getting money coming in.
I think it will sustain itself until the next thing comes along. But a lot of people like me are going, why have I still got Sky?
Why have you still got Sky?
I don't know, because Dad watches stupid sport on it.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can pay for all that.
I must admit, I do watch the Crime and Investigation channel a lot.
I think the only thing Sky's got sport-wise, and I'm no sport knowledge guy, but I think the rugby rights, once they lose those, they'll be kind of...
I fell asleep when you said rugby.
Yeah, good. You're in good company. So, so I think Netflix is about $12 a month. Just
I know.
So you were raised in Christchurch.
I was.
And you're now in West Auckland, so you obviously kind of know what you like in New Zealand.
What do you mean by that? I tell you what, I was down in Gisborne a couple of nights ago doing a gig, and they're my people down there, eh? It's pretty bogan in Gisborne. Word up, Gizzy, love you, but bogan.
It's so hard to get into and out of Gisborne.
It
They're
is,
just
and
on
it's
their
not
own.
often we do. That's a one-off, man.
Do they sort of acknowledge that and come out because they know that they are?
They do, and they really get into it. They're a little bit scandalised because they don't see a lot of stand-up. So
that's an interesting word. What do you mean scandalised?
Oh well, if you know, like I was MC, so I was up first, and as a woman, and I said I might have dropped couple of F-bombs, certainly, and something slightly worse, and there was a little bit of a, like it wasn't hostile.
Because a lady said it.
Because a lady swore. I did say the C word. But only once, and the gag needs it.
Yeah.
I believe. And I don't really care about saying it.
Is there a vaginal aspect to the joke?
No, there's not.
It just needs it.
No, there's a joke about a woman who calls a man that.
It's one of the last taboos in the States.
Yeah, American people do not like it.
That word?
No, I make fun of Americans in audience about it.
What's the difference between Christchurch and West Auckland?
There's a lot less racism in West Auckland.
Do you reckon Christchurch is still that
Yeah,
that way.
Unfortunately,
Wow.
I really do, and not all, but Ben Hurley and I laugh awfully about the fact that every single frickin' time we go down to Christchurch and I get picked up by a taxi driver who's an older white guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long the taxi ride is, he's going to say something racist to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm really, really white looking, and he
Yeah.
thinks that's all right.
Yeah.
And it happens so many times
Yeah.
that I can't just go, oh, well, it's like, I think, my parents' generation were a little bit of that persuasion. The
It's
racist
an
persuasion.
exposure thing. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'm not condoning it, but it's just a lot whiter down there. I think the
It
more
really
you're forced
it really
to,
is. When I went to high school, I left high school in 1985 or something. I'm old.
Yeah.
But, there was, I went to Avonside Girls High School, and there was us, and then there was the Te Waipunamu girls who came from the Māori contingent to the school.
Yeah.
And never the twain did meet. We just didn't talk to them. I was really
Wow.
scared of them because they're really good at sports and wasted me on the hockey field. But, so I really, and going to an all-girls school in Christchurch, man, I really value my various friends and dudes, and I would never think.
It's the same way they're saying there was no interaction at high
No.
school. So how did you get down with the brown, as it were?
Mate, I moved
moving through life.
I tell you what, I moved to Ponsonby in the late 80s, and
Right.
it was, we were the only. Me and my mate Lucy were the only honkies on the block for ages. It was great.
Have you been in Auckland since then?
Yeah, I came up to Auckland at the end of sixth form.
Right.
So
Wow.
I'm moving around. It's me.
Yeah, that's right. Just
I'm
as long as
slumping over.
you just got to look at the.
I'm very
just
drunk.
The logo.
Oh yeah, the logo. Right.
That's right. It's 1:14 on Monday.
I'm very drunk.
And that's what happens.
I'm not.
So why so keen to get out so early?
Actually, it wasn't my choice. My mother, who had been incredibly close to her parents, both my nan and granddad died within quite a short time within each other, which really devastated my mother. And at the same time, Dad's company got taken over, and so upper management all got fired. And so they decided to move to Auckland and take me with them because I was just not old enough to go. Cause I didn't want to go to Auckland. No part of me wanted to, man. I wanted to go to seventh form, hang out with my mates,
Yeah.
So I kind of got ripped out of Christchurch against my will, really.
To late 80s Ponsonby, which is where they settled, where the family settled.
No, the family settled in Mount Albert, and I was in Mount Albert for a wee while, and then I went flatting in Ponsonby like everyone else did.
So did it $22 a week or something?
Dude, it was like about $65 a week, I swear to God.
Yeah. So did it shake up your, I had a different scenario, but I relate to the and I've done this in hindsight because it didn't occur to me at the time. Things getting kind of moved around and shaken up at that age is actually it's a really unsettling period of your life.
It was terrible.
I had a person come in who hadn't been there, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then this other thing happened in the family.
Yeah. Well, I lost my grandparents, and we were really close to them. They were a really huge part of our life, especially my granddad. I mean, he was a stand-up comedian who played the banjo. Yeah, and he was just amazing. And Mum and comedy kind of skipped a generation of my family, shall we say. And so Mum and I have always had a very strained relationship, and she's recently
But hopefully
passed
she's
away.
still got a sense of humour.
No, fuck, she really didn't.
Wow.
I feel bad saying about that. She's recently passed
That's all
away.
right.
But
Rest in peace.
Yeah, for sure. But, so my relationship was really strained with Mum because of that for years. Because she didn't let me finish school, and I was really resentful, and
That's the bit I was going to ask about. So why couldn't you finish school up here?
Well, I couldn't really be bothered going to a new school to do seven forms. I was starting to go, fuck school, fuck everybody. I was like a real pain in the ass teenager. So I came up here and I went to art school. And really enjoyed that. Went to Whitecliff Art School, and then it's just a rubbish one.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know I had a cat. So,
I wish you did.
And so, what kind of art? Just all fine arts, photography.
Yeah.
You still take photos?
No, I just did nothing with it at all.
Oh.
Nah. But I very quickly had a 180 on not liking living in Auckland. I very quickly adapted and made heaps of mates and got a great job working at the Globe, the pub that used to be on Wakefield Street, which was really social. And so I just had a fucking ball. And I just had I worked, because it wasn't a pub and I was really young, I lied about my age to get a job. There were these 3 or 4 women who were a little bit older than me, who were these strong kick-ass chicks working in pubs, and I was like, I want to be them. Like they really, purple lipstick and
Yeah,
smoky
yeah, yeah.
hair. And,
Strong woman.
And I was like, Jesus, these chicks take no shit. They're great.
Yeah.
And so it was really character forming.
Wow.
Because I was kind of conservative, proper, almost virginal.
Christchurch.
Never smoked pot, never been pissed, and all that changed pretty quickly. So I just had a ball when I came up here.
So you had some very, very healthy and arguably, quite unhealthy older female role models at the same
they
time.
weren't like that so much. They looked after me heaps.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, it was certainly eye-opening going to parties up here and stuff like that. And I was like 17, pretending I was 20,
So I'm actually the other day on Facebook, I had actually somewhere like a Lost Nightlife of Wellington page or something. Someone from a few years older than me was talking about how they went flatting at 15, and she said in the same comment, have you look at 15-year-olds these days, and can you imagine them even? I think people. No. I mean, it's a sort of a luxury, isn't it? Getting older. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then there's something about what you're saying that's it's like it's like a cliche, but it was a different world, man.
It sounds so dumb.
It wasn't even that long ago, but it was a different world,
though, mate. I can remember the first time my girlfriends get a cell phone, and we were like, "Woo!" Honestly, yeah.
I was just thinking about you getting your job with the because they just have you have like the wax coated. License if they even ask for it, you can just scrub the type number out and put a new one in.
I'm so old that when I got my I'll be 50 this year, and when I got my driver's license in high school, you literally got like one of those little green passport looking things,
with the wax paper thing inside it.
Totally, actually, sorry, but they never. All you did was sit your test. Full license, see you later.
That's right. 15 on the road.
The learners or anything.
That's
it's too young, mate. It's way too. 15's too young.
I remember being driven around what's the word? Unsecured, in the front seat of kind of like Kingswoods and stuff with bucket seats.
I totally
chuck 3 toddlers in there, sweet as.
Oh yeah, my mate Sarah, she's got a story she remembers in the 70s of coming home from the hospital after her mum had their new baby Francie. Her dad's smoking a ciggy out the window, and Francie's on the floor in between her mum's feet. It's like. I love driving though. I remember because Mum had this Morris 1100, like a big fat old Land Cruiser.
Oh my God, it was one of those in my family as well. Yeah.
And my sister and I got to drive that, and I can remember to this day the feeling of having my handbag on the seat next to me and driving my ass around. I was like, yes, I was so into it.
Yeah.
I can't understand people who don't drive. Unless you live in like Wellington or Melbourne or something, you don't really need to.
Yeah. This is a question that might be like, you might go, I don't know. I've lived here all this time. I didn't realise you were such a long-term resident of Auckland. I've been here 10.
I'm a big fan.
I was going to say I've been here 10 years and
from Wellington,
it's flown by. Yeah, but I went to Melbourne for a 3-week holiday and ended up there 7 years.
Yeah, I went to Melbourne for a year and ended up there too.
Yeah, it's that sort of place.
It's awesome,
but I was going to say, and this has been answered different ways because I've asked a few people who've lived here a while, like what's changed in Auckland the way you see it in the time you've lived here? I mean, there's the obvious gentrification and but what else has changed in Auckland? Much that you can think of?
Oh God, so much, like it's so different to the city I first moved into. Even I guess how long is that? 25 years ago? More? Yeah. But I love Auckland, man, and I also enjoy saying that on stage when I'm at other places in the country because they're like, boo, Auckland. I'm like, oh, shut up, it's awesome, and also, why would I live somewhere I didn't like? But I think Auckland's changed because it's just got massive. Yeah. And I love that about it. I love living in the biggest city in the country.
Oh, so you mean just based on numbers of people around, it seems way bigger now?
Oh, yeah, God, yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I love the way you went to defend it first off. I wasn't asking for that at all.
I guess I'm just used to it.
No, it's because I can't speak for Dan. So listeners, I went to school with Justine's husband.
Now husband for nearly 3 years. Thank you.
And we can gossip about him later. But he had he lived anywhere else except for Wellington?
Yeah, he had quite a gypsy upbringing, old
Yeah,
Dan. He
yeah.
was in New Plymouth for a while, and then a little bit south of that.
But most of sort of adult years, you know,
Yeah, mostly
Wellington, then Auckland.
Yeah.
Like they're very different cities. Did he sort of struggle at first, or straight in there?
Actually, he was ready, you know,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
because of his job. I mean, for love, I sacrificed Lewis. I packed everything up and I went down to Wellington. And you know what? I'm not a big fan of Wellington.
How long did you live there?
Fucking hell, 4 months. But what happened was we had this really nice house in Kandala, so obviously a little bit better than everyone. And but then Dan got offered this great job back up in Auckland, you know, and it was a step up management wise and more money and stuff. And so we were pretty wrapped. I mean, I was so happy to come back to Auckland. I was like basically packing before he'd stopped telling me.
What happened down there, Justine? What happened?
Nothing happened. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
And also, there's, you know, as a comic of my level, without sounding really arrogant, there's not a lot of work down there.
Yeah.
You know, everything TV-wise is up here.
And that's the tyranny of this country in general. I get you. It's like you are. If you're doing anything like you're doing, you're bound to Auckland. Really,
you
I
are.
think.
I'm happy to be here, though. I don't resent that at all. I mean, I won't always. Dan and I won't always live in Auckland. But to answer your question, he actually adjusted really.
I don't even know what my question was at this point.
He adjusted really easily.
Oh, okay.
He did. He was ready for a change, and you know, we were recently together, and it was like a new adventure. And we had this really cute house we first moved into in Avondale, and it was fun times, man.
Was that the one in the paper?
No, I think the one in the
shoot?
paper is where we are now in Te Ratu Peninsula.
And the other thing is, like, when I was growing up there, the one thing people would whinge about...
In Wellington?
Yeah, the one thing everyone whinges about, which is if you only know one thing, you don't get it, is like the weather. I'd go, what do you mean? The weather's fine here.
No,
and
the weather's not
then
fine.
When I got to Melbourne and stuff, I go back and the people go, let's go to the beach. And I'm sitting there wearing like 2 hoodies.
Oh, no, it's really bad weather.
And us sitting here made me think of that, like, because we're dressed like we're in Fargo.
Yeah.
But this is like this is like the... Well, you more so than me, because I told you my heater had broken. But
you're right, it's
but it is when you go back there is that. I mean, I love my city because I'm from there, but that is the one thing that I go, wow. I mean, global warming will do it fair. will do Wellington
the
fair.
thing with Wellington, though, I have to say,
when
is
New
that,
York sunk.
Oh, don't say that about my favourite city in the whole world.
So the thing you're going to say about Wellington?
I think Wellington is fabulous in its own right, and I'm not saying that patronisingly. I prefer Wellington audiences to Auckland.
Yeah.
I think they're more up for it and more, I don't know, something about them is a bit more theatre-y. For me, it's just a bit small. I don't want to be able to walk around the whole city I live in.
Oh, that it is. Yeah. Especially when you get to your early 20s. And yeah, that's right. It's ever-decreasing circles.
Yeah, that too.
So...
Every footpath's a walk of shame.
And everyone weirdly still takes the main roads. I don't get that. So, you know, I did a bit of reading about you. I do like to have some vague semblance of preparation. And
I bet that didn't take long.
I do. Everyone, listeners have heard this many times. Doesn't matter who you are. I go 3 Google pages deep.
Oh, that'll be all of it,
and
surely.
that's it. Sometimes different search terms. But it was that the thing that struck me was that you, by your own admission, the way you put it, you kind of found stand-up later than most, although I don't know what the age most people
I was
find
like
it is.
25.
You said 26. I didn't think that's young. It's like...
Well, it's not comparatively these days, like, because there's, like, you know, programs in high schools. We do a thing that runs with the festival called Class Comedians, and I mean, some of these cats are too young to be in the club. You know, they've got to have a special thing and bring their mum with them.
Yeah.
A fucking nightmare. But I drifted around. I mean, I went to art school, I travelled, I lived in Japan, I was just a bit drifty.
Yeah.
And then, I did an open mic night, and, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, it was literally life-changing. I knew my life had changed.
I read that and I really liked it. It's
I mean that.
You know why? Because, like, a lot of people never get that moment,
I feel
that luxury.
so lucky,
you know,
to have found it.
Some people have a perfectly enjoyable life doing what they do, but some people never have that kind of...
I remember standing outside Kitty O'Brien's and just feeling that everything was going to be different.
Wow. And so when I had Brendan in, actually you talking about your granddad has rewritten the history books because he was a stand-up in New Zealand. We'll talk about that in a sec. But Brendan was saying it all sort of kicked off... Actually, I've had
You've had Diane Erst too.
I have, and I've had Alan in, who was very funny. I'm going to go off my point
Alan's great. I love him.
Scott, sorry, I've had Scott in as well.
Yeah.
But the way Brendan at least tells it, I guess everyone's got their own sort of narrative and timeline and stuff. Is sort of was it like sort of mid-90s things?
No, he's absolutely right.
I think you say he's absolutely wrong.
No, he's absolutely right. The stand-up scene.
Yeah.
When there was like Mike King, Ewan Gilmore, Radar, Brendan, Michelle O'Cord, Andrew Clay, and then I was kind of the next wave after that.
But only a wave within a year or two or something, right?
But it makes a difference somehow.
Yeah. Well, if something's like that new, it's like music scenes. That's right. A year or two is like light years, isn't it?
And the scene is so different now. I was talking to David Correas, who is amazing. He's one of the young comics, and he was down with the old dogs, Paul Ego and I, and Gisborne. He was like, "Should we go out for a drink?" And Paul and I were like, "No." But he's amazing, and we were talking about how different.
How old's he?
Oh God, David's like 24.
Yeah, he's okay. No, he's got a few more years of that
mate,
vitality.
He's just a little bun. He's an Energizer bunny. He's great.
Yeah.
But I was saying to him how different it was that there was no TV scene, and yet we had all the live time we needed.
Yeah.
Because when the Classic opened, they had to fill the nights, and so with the comics coming up, man, we had like at least two gigs a week, and we were always on stage, and so we learnt really, really quickly.
What about on the other side of the stage? Were the audiences filling it from the early days? Or?
No, God, no.
Yeah.
No, it was a real struggle for ages, and also getting people to have faith that New Zealanders could do comedy.
So, was your granddad's thing more from that sort of, kind of British...
Definitely.
Working men's club tradition?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Granddad
I
was
didn't know we had
part
that. Yeah, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, no, in Christchurch. I remember, because Granddad died when I was like 16, but I can remember, and he was only in his 60s, I think, late 60s. And I can...
It's all that smoke in the RSA.
Yeah, hard out.
Yeah.
And all that beer, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, but... he would go, I'm just going out to entertain the old folks. And we thought that was hilarious because to us he was the old folks, But he would do, like RSAs, but also quite big theatres. He was part of a double act, and Granddad played the banjo.
I was going to say, was it song?
Yeah, it was. So it was quite vaudeville.
Yeah.
In fact, I messaged my sister about 6 months ago because I was talking about Granddad, and I talked about Granddad in the last show that I did. And I said to him, God, you don't think there's any chance that Granddad did blackface, do you? And she went... I wouldn't completely rule it out, which is appalling.
Hey, it was a different time.
It was a different time, and
and we've already talked about Christchurch in 2017, so 2018.
I was like then. Yeah, pretty much. But funny.
Yeah, it is funny. And I forgot. Was he around when you were around, or did he die before you?
Oh, way before.
Way before.
10 years before I started comedy, he passed away.
So it was your grandma, his grandma that died when you were a teen, which was his...
Both of them. They died really...
Right.
Wife. Yeah, they died quickly together. I mean, in a couple of years from each other.
Right. Is there anyone who follows that sort of tradition now in comedy? Who kind of gets close to that? I don't know.
There is musical comedy. I mean, I guess you could say almost in the vein of that is Concords and the Fan Brigade and...
Yeah. Musical comedy is terrible most of the time, so it's really good when it's done really well.
It's like improv and burlesque.
Yeah.
Most of it is appalling, but when it's done amazingly, it's incredible.
What is burlesque, really? Sometimes it's just an excuse to kind of be going to a strip bar, isn't it?
That's okay, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but why don't you just say I'm going to a strip bar?
I don't know. Depends what kind of wife you've got.
Yeah,
because Dan's so not into strip bars. I'm like, why don't you go to strippies, babes, with your mates? He's like, oh God, no thanks.
It's a little bit. I mean, all your bigging up Auckland. It's sort of like that is one thing with the nightlife. Like if I walk down K Road these days, I'm like, man, it really is just mainly titty bars these days.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to have a bit of balance.
Where was I
here
today? Oh, I was in number 1 shoe warehouse today in Henderson Mall this morning, and I got really fucked off because the music was too loud, and I went, oh my God, I'm so old.
How did we get there from strip bars? Was the music too loud? Was the music too loud in the club last time you were there?
Oh yeah, good.
I don't particularly like them either. But another reason I probably wouldn't go is that the amount of students I teach, probably one of them would end up being on the pole one day. They're around the target age.
How grim.
How grim.
How grim.
Sign of age. And so you did your first routine in 1997.
Yes.
because I'm hopefully addicted to listening to these as well, and obviously lots of stand-up comics do these shows in the UK and the US. Most people say they look back on their first few jokes and cringe. Does the material hold up?
I don't cringe. It's interesting you should say that though, but there were some jokes that I probably did when I was starting out I might not do now.
Yeah. But that's like anything in being 25 and...
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I just talked about being a waitress and not having a boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know, so now I'm married and not a waitress.
And now you talk about the music being too loud and turning 50.
I do. Actually, I frickin' do. That sounds like my routine. Fucking sad.
Yeah, that does. The bits I watched, and we got to age pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a biggie for me this year.
Well, I think also we get too deep on it, but it's come up in a few other things I've listened to or read lately, like particularly Women in Aging. What was I reading? Yeah, the just society and being a woman and how that's different between in your 20s.
Yeah, I'm fucking lucky I'm getting on TV at my age and as a woman.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I'm lucky that the people I work for in general, not all of them, but are pretty good about that. But I've had to fight for my spot.
Yeah.
More so than I would have.
It's uncomfortable to hear.
Oh, it's true.
Right.
I've had to fight way harder for my spot. And I'd say it in front of all of them.
Is that just like an old boys network in companies as exists? Yeah. Do you think that'll change?
I think it's changing.
My comms degree, I don't know if you know, I teach comms at AUT. It's pumping out a lot of strong, young women who can work in many areas of the industry.
I finally kind of do think it's changing. Like for years, I've watched women start comedy and get to a certain level and then stop. Yeah. And I think now with things like Funny Girls and women being really visible... Yeah. I think it is changing, and that's awesome. Partly why, even though it is what is my life right now, that's why I talk about being 50 on stage, because I want women to, you know, not be fucking afraid of it, you know, because I'm not. I'm like, bring it on. I'm going to crack the shit out until I fall over.
And I guess if I'm realistic about it, there'll be equality or whatever you want to call it when there isn't like one brown guy and one woman on shows like 7 Days, and that's not there. I'm not ragging. I get all the layers of it. You know,
and I'm not ragging out in 7 Days either, because I work on the show and behind the scenes of the show.
The stage is kind of a numbers game.
Hard they try. Yeah. And so when people go, "There's no fucking woman on 7 Days," and of course, they ask me that all the time as one of the women who's on it the most, but. You know, I'm like, the worst thing you can do is put a chick on there who's not ready, man. Yeah. It's a fucking beer pit, even for me.
I was amazed. I remember her from class, actually. And, you know, I've taught from about 2011 onwards now. But I actually remember Melanie Bracewell as a student.
It's funny you should say it, because she's exactly the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, you think she was put on too early?
No, God. No,
she's just,
no, far from it. I think she's amazing. So when I talk about women coming through, I think about her.
Because I was going to say, she actually dropped.
She just did Gotham City.
She dropped out of the degree, and I was like, good on you. Because what happened was, somehow we heard, there's going to be a student entered some competition, and they're getting airtime on 7 Days. And I watched it, and I was like, that's the girl in my class.
And she's amazing.
and then within about a year, I've actually put feelers out to Brendan, because I thought it would be quite funny having her come in. Like, now she's comedian, talk about school and see what she thought of AUT and so on.
Dude, she just won the Billy T Award.
Really?
She did.
For 2018.
I was one of the judges. So
awesome.
You're welcome.
Another person on the chick comedian front in New Zealand whose career I really respect is Michelle Court. And it's weird, because I'm of a certain age where she was would have had no idea she was sort of an adult comedian, because I grew up with her being on What Now?
So many people did, you know.
And Dan probably did as well. He's probably just young enough.
Well, the thing is, with Michelle and Jeremy and Dan and I are like 3 weeks away from going to Disneyland together. We're just...
Are you going again?
Bestest mates. Yeah, we're all going together. And also, you know... I do get asked, you know, who you look up to, and Michelle is always the first person I say. Yeah. Because the way she conducts herself within the industry, and the way she is, and how funny she is. I mean, she's not. I don't see her at the clubs so much anymore, because she's really busy doing stand-up.
No, but she does stuff like she's like, yeah, but she's also like the really. how to put it, like the entertaining yet just as engaging as all the rest of them
Absolutely.
person on the panel on
Absolutely.
RNZ, you know.
Absolutely.
She said, I mean, what'd she say? She said something that like blew my mind about, I think her daughter must have been, I don't know how old her daughter would be now. Maybe she was late teens, early 20s a few years ago.
Holly's got 2 kids now, so she's 20s.
Okay, so she was sort of saying that she said something like, I wish, it'd be amazing if women between, I'm probably getting this horribly wrong when I really, I'm taken with quotes and getting it wrong, but she said something like, imagine if, a woman between 17 and 23, had the same sort of life experience or whatever as a CEO, like they're visually so everywhere. It was basically like with that combination they could take over the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what subtext of what she was saying was kind of like, that's all you see,
that's
media
right.
image wise. And it's
Yeah.
like, I went and tried to tell my students and got it horribly wrong, but
Get her in.
interesting. I'd love to get her in.
Yeah, she might come.
It's the kind of fluffing people to come in that's the harder part. Sitting here and chatting, I can do that for hours. It's just the connection.
I don't think that you just need to ask, Lewis.
Yeah, I think Brendan seems like he'll be a good
He's just the
connection
greatest,
for that.
eh?
And then I'll just keep texting you from
Yeah,
here on
text
in.
me up. I'm often just at the shopping malls, during the day.
That's right.
I laugh uneasily because it's true, and I know that Dan will hear this.
I don't get the shopping mall reference, so I'm just
I love
chuckling
shopping
and
malls.
moving on. Really?
Oh, yeah, love a shopping mall, mate.
You guys got engaged at Disneyland, eh?
Yeah, that's not a shopping mall.
It's sort of a...
How dare you fucking Lewis! How very dare you?
No, it's the happiest place on earth.
Mate, we
and
love...
I'll tell you what, Sylvia Park is not that.
Oh, no, it's Hendo Mall, where I'm at.
What? Is that where you met him?
No, I met him at the San Fran bathhouse.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
See, so it wasn't such a bad 4 months after all. Was he still a performing rapper then?
No, he was not. But I had known Dan for ages. I knew
Yeah.
him when he had dreads and he was in the band and all that stuff. And we'd been mates through comedy.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that special feeling in my waters.
It's going to be weird him listening to this.
Mate, he's used to it, eh, poor bastard.
But he's an interesting character, like, a few years different at school. Never hung out. Always knew we really liked each other.
Yeah.
But I've seen Dan go through sort of like distinct different phases.
Absolutely.
But always be Dan.
Yeah,
it's sort of
for
like
sure.
he was kind of like the clean-cut Chicago Bulls guy at school.
Yeah.
Wore like a wore like a red Belle Biv DeVoe suit to the ball, which was fantastic.
Who did he go to the
I
ball
still
with?
can't remember. Yvette Adams. and
This is a Vet Adams bitch now.
I'm going to have to turn this. This week. And then I think next up, not next up. I'm breaking down your life here. Sorry, Dan. Then he was rapping for a while, and then weirdly through Facebook, I noticed that he was working in mental health. I was like, was doing that great radio show with
Brendan,
one of his clients, I
radio,
suppose you call them.
Radioactive.
Weird, he posted it, and Radio Access or something. I started listening to that. Did he just career change later in life?
He was just we were similar really, just sifting around. He was in bands, working in hospo. And then he was looking for. I think he went to Melbourne. I'm probably getting all this wrong. This is way before I knew him. And he came back from Melbourne and just became a basic support worker, which is going out into the community and maybe taking someone to Countdown or giving them their meds.
I've got a friend who does very similar.
Yeah. There's lots of support workers out there on different levels. And then because he's such a nice guy and so caring and he just found something he was really good at, and so he moved up with no real official qualifications. He's got some now as he's going, but now he's like regional manager or something.
Sounds like me. Found the I've done a lot of different stuff as well. Now I think about it, but I've sort of like him. I've found the kind of steady one. Yeah, growing up career thing quite late in life.
They love him. He works for a really cool.
I'd imagine it's work that is really challenging, and you have the greatest days on earth and the worst days on earth, and you're paid about 1,000th of a head of Pooh Man.
Yeah, totally. I bet Pooh Man gets paid more. And you know what? Dan shits in the toilet, as far as I know.
That's a good boy. So Have you thought of, I've thought about, because I've read about, and I've talked to other comedians about it, but I read a little bit about you saying there's more income around these days, because it's not just stand-up, there's writing works on shows and whatever.
Yeah.
And podcasts and stuff for me, like the listening side of it, have made me realise, shit, I wish I knew there was such a job as like a showrunner when I was at uni in the mid-90s. You know, like a writer on a show or whatever.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Like the world's got smaller now, and things like Flight of the Conchords have made it, and so on and so forth. Have you ever thought about how it would have been different if you've been like LA based or New York based or whatever?
It would have been a lot harder work, and that is for sure.
Right.
Like in New York, when I've been to New York. I love New York, and I've been to New York about 3 times. I've never done a gig there because I've got this attitude, and it probably is quite lazy.
Yeah.
That if I'm not going to crack into the scene over there, why would I bother doing a gig?
Oh, I was meaning more the writing stuff.
I just think that would be impossible.
Impossible.
To get into,
probably like
honestly.
anything,
that probably
old
sounds
boys
really
network,
defeatist,
and
but yeah, I don't know, like on like some amazing show or something.
Oh, I don't know. I just have been thinking about it lately because what I was sort of getting at is the world's opened up a lot, and
to a certain extent.
I had no idea of options outside of.
I mean, I suppose if that's something I really wanted to pursue, then I would put together a CV of stuff I've worked on and a little show reel of comedy and put it together and send it over.
But don't you think some things like, just speaking in really more general terms now, like things like the Peter Jackson juggernaut, but also the Flight of the Conchords, and like that just sounded like a New Zealander going to Mars when I was growing up.
Sure.
Do you
totally.
think I'm overemphasising it?
No, I don't. I do think,
yeah.
and especially the Conchords and Reese as well.
A quirky Kiwi accent, weirdo
definitely.
New Zealand comedy on HBO.
I mean, there's a couple of comics now who are flying over to LA to film a pilot with Reese. You know, it has really opened it up, yeah.
And Jermaine's playing like creatures and Men in Black films.
And Brett's
and
singing with Kermit, for God's sake.
I went to that.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Oh my God.
Please don't
Honestly,
talk about it.
look, all I'll say.
No, please don't talk about it.
Okay. It was one of the greatest nights of my life.
Fuck.
It was. And they went in order of Henson's career. So
can you look,
they had the Sesame
mouth.
Street characters come out, and then they had the Muppets come out.
You know, my spirit was Fozzie Bear.
It was great. It was really, really, really good. I went down especially to Wellington for it. You know, it was sort of like a couple of people. You realise some people have just got no magic in their hearts. A couple of sort of people.
You? Because you don't like
colleagues. It was like, you're going to what?
Were they?
No, just not really, 1 or 2. Just people who are like, oh God, you grew up at 14, you boring fart.
Oh, yeah, fuck off. That's like people who go, who I don't know, and I go, yeah, we're going to Disneyland a couple of times this year.
Yeah.
They go, do you have children? I'm like, no, and they're like, oh.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm like, nah.
Nah,
Love
why
that
not?
shit.
And I was joking about Disneyland before. I was secretly really jealous. I'd love to go, and I will
Do you
go
know, Lewis,
one
at
day.
the end of this year, Dan and I will have been to every Disneyland in the world.
Whoa! I was just going to say, have you been going to the Florida one every time? Or
No, we've only been to Florida once.
They tell from what I heard. I know they're all still amazing in their own ways, but that's the one that's a little sort of kitschy and run down compared to the rest now. Is that right?
Florida's amazing, mate. Florida Disney World.
What's the OG one? That's Florida. No,
LA is the OG.
Oh, is LA the one that's
Disneyland is the OG in LA, and
in
Disney
LA.
World,
so that's the one
Florida.
that's a bit sort of like it's charmingly a bit stuck in the past compared to the rest, isn't it?
I don't think so, mate. They've
That's
just
the
done a whole big...
teacups and everything.
I got engaged on the teacups.
Oh, you didn't.
I did, yeah. No, I just love it. Obviously.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, that's right. You should never grow up. And
also in LA, you know, you can have a little bit of a old legal scenario and pop on Space Mountain. So
true.
Don't mind if I do.
So we've got Tokyo, no,
Yes.
Japan.
Yep,
so I'm going to
Tokyo.
test myself here. We've got Japan.
Yes.
We've got Euro Disney in France.
Correct.
Which originally failed until
Yes,
the Americans
horribly.
realised how to treat the
Correct.
French right,
Correct.
i.e. have wine in the afternoon. It's true.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yes.
LA.
Yes.
Am I missing one?
2.
2. Dubai? No,
No.
that wouldn't work at all. 2.
Yep.
Can you give me a continent?
Asia.
Oh, so I said
Tokyo.
Tokyo. That's the next 10 minutes. Wait. Hong Kong?
Yes.
Okay.
And one more.
One more. Okay. What continent's that one in?
Asia.
Oh, God.
You'll never get it. Shanghai.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very. China's opening up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, what's the one in China like?
We don't know. Going this year.
Oh man, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Are you just going just fly straight in there and stay at
No,
Disneyland?
we're flying
or?
to Shanghai, then we're doing a few days in Shanghai, which are a couple in Disney, and then
Yeah.
we're flying to Paris, and we're going to Paris, Disney, and a few days not... I stress that we do look around, not just Disney. And then we fly to Hong Kong and home.
And do you have a Disney trophy cabinet, and what do you buy to put in it? Is it glasses? Is it hats? Is it a certain soft toy?
It's a different soft toy and a different pair of ears every time, and we collect Christmas ornaments, and I have 5 pairs of ears.
That's so cool. I'd probably buy big feet slippers.
You can get those.
So you didn't like it when I went down the end of which one's the most run down, but happiest place on earth. But which one's sort of the most in terms of like the rides and all that sort of stuff is the most kind of futuristic?
It's got to be Disney World in Florida.
Florida. That's the more sort of high octane,
it's got 5
like
parks.
Knott's Berry Farm style.
Yeah, we're going to Knott's Berry Park in a month.
Oh, yeah.
But well, Disney World is like the size of downtown San Francisco.
It's crazy.
You literally drive in, and we were staying on resort, and
Yeah.
it still took us 40 minutes in a bus to get to Animal Kingdom.
Did you buy the priority passes? Do you reckon they're worth buying?
Dan's all over it, absolutely. Fast pass, and you get magic mornings if you stay
And
on
how
site.
many days do you reckon you have to spend there to do everything properly?
In Orlando, 8.
Really?
I reckon, yeah. 'Cause
Really?
there's 5 different
It's
parts.
nuts, man.
Yeah, but I like to get it all covered, man.
Wow. I'll wrap this bit up in a sec. So
Sorry.
at the... Where are we at the latest one? The Shanghai one.
Yeah.
What sort of size is that and how many days are you going to need there?
Shanghai, I think we're doing 3 days there because it's quite small, but it's really new and it's got an amazing Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Wow. Oh, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah, buddy, I'm excited as.
And what sort of weather do you fly into?
It's going to be hot as hell.
Oh,
That's right, though.
get those fast queue passes.
Get your anti-chafing powder ready.
Where were we in your career before
Oh.
that fell off the end of the...
We early?
No, well, probably, yeah, I normally only get to about 99 and then it wraps up. No, we've got further than that. We're talking about riding on 7 days.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to talk about riding in general because I know different comics do it different ways. I might be unfairly informed by, again, American and British stuff I listen to, like things like riding the hour each year. Like, how many of you would actually do hour-long shows? Do many of you
Every
have hour-long?
year.
No, but do you, like, if you go and do a show on the road, like,
Yeah.
how often are you doing an hour of material?
Hardly ever.
So that's an offshore kind of a pressure or a thing doing that long
It depends. It's a festival thing.
festival thing.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing the Hamilton Women's Festival, I think, in August, and I'm doing an hour down there at the Meteor.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be 2 lots of 40. God, I hope not. But usually, I MC a lot, so I usually end up doing 2 lots of 15.
Right.
But usually you do between 20 and 30 or 40.
And do you think shit that's funny when you're in the supermarket and then jot it down somewhere
Yes.
and then build it out?
Yes.
Do you do that on paper or in your
I
head?
do that on the notes apps on my phone.
Yeah.
Or on literally a piece of paper. But usually on, I try and keep it on my phone because I'm notoriously unorganised.
Some people will like script it out. Do you just have bullet points of ideas and then bits come off that?
So how I have it, how I explain it, is that I'll have bits, and in my head I put a set together like a frog leaping on lily pads.
Yeah.
So in my head I think about it. Literally, they look like lily pads in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes if something's not working, I'll push that lily pad away and I pull down another lily pad, you know.
And so what's the water underneath? That's the bits that you got to link the lily pads together.
Yeah, that's
right.
and that's me swimming in between.
Do you guys talk about, is it like is the craft thing, do you guys all talk about different ways you do it? And,
Yep.
you know, do you know are there people who you know who just write out every...
Yeah, when I was doing work with
Verb,
Jan Marie, when
adjective,
she was
et
doing,
cetera.
when Jan was doing comedy, and she doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah, what's
but-
happened to her?
Oh, she just lives down in Hamilton and
Yeah.
she's doing other stuff. But
Yeah.
we did a lot of stuff together, and so she would write pages and pages of ideas.
Yeah.
And you know, like a couple of those things would be quite good by her own admission. You know?
Yeah.
And I would think, and then write down a gag, and I would just put it straight in. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's not better, actually.
Yeah, that's just whatever works for the person, right?
It's also, it comes from conversations. I've got really funny girlfriends,
Yeah.
you know, and Dan's really funny.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, actually, and Ben Hurley and I write a lot on 7 Days together, and we
Yeah.
have a really similar sense of humour. So, you know, quite often we'll just be talking, and then we'll laugh, and he'll go, "You should write that down." And I go, oh, that's ridiculous. It's really good to write that shit down.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
you know, some things can come... Because you always feel like a bit of a dick going, oh, write it down. We always mock each
Well,
other.
there's that thing you can record your voice
yeah,
now.
I can do that. Yeah, I hate
I mean,
listening
look,
to myself.
you know, I should have just, for whatever reason, I should have written down things I've thought of a lot more over the years.
Oh, God, all of us.
Funny or not, I definitely have an hour of material at least. It'll do the same hour I'd do for 10 years.
I
But
spent like a morning in bed yesterday really fucked off myself.
yeah, I remember. Okay, no.
Just because I was going, fuck. I was in a hotel room with Paul Lego and David Corrios after a gig in Gisborne having a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And Paul mentioned, you said that really funny stuff about blah, blah, blah. And I went, God, that's right. I should bring that back. That's really good.
And then you forgot it.
And now neither of us can remember what it was.
I've done that so often, or like
I think everyone
I go,
does
that is the funniest. Like even for writing or whatever,
Yeah.
I go, I've got to use that. I've got to use that, and then I just get complacent. I go, yeah, I'll remember that later today, or even more ridiculously
You
tomorrow.
don't, you
No,
don't,
you
that's
don't.
gone,
You
eh?
don't.
No, it's
You
gone.
don't. And okay, write stuff down. That's my
Write it down.
2018. And when you say writing for 7 days, there's obviously they're all comedians, they're performers. There's the stuff they say off the cuff. I think this really interests people because obviously it's got a big
I know, we're
audience
really
in New
supposed to talk
Zealand.
about it.
Okay.
The thing is that 7 days is as live as it can be.
Yeah.
And most of the things we do as writers is research and links. So it is most of the stuff, and I can say this absolutely honestly, most of the stuff on 7 days is legitimately off the cuff that makes it to TV because that's the funniest.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, there's some prep done.
I wasn't looking for. I know there was. Actually, my first guest is Thomas, who works on it. Do you know Tom?
Oh, lovely Tom Watts.
Tom the rock star.
I
You know he's a rock star, don't you?
I do know he's a rock
Yeah,
star.
he's a rock star.
Are you guys mates?
We're colleagues and we're mates who would. I can't speak for Thomas. I'd happily hang out with him a lot outside of work, but
I like you two, maybe.
we know each other. Later in life.
He's funny, mate.
He's got married.
Yeah, he's
you know?
cute.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's actually just left us permanently because 7 days and all the rest of it's got so much.
Yeah, well, his role really stepped up lately too, I think.
Hey, now, it's not unique to you, but it kept coming up in things either you'd written about yourself or someone else had, that stuff like Doesn't Suffer Fools will tear flesh off audience members. And I was thinking, like, so that's not you, and you roll your eyes. Well, this would be interesting to ask then. I was thinking, isn't some kind of anger, and that's a word that can go from all different levels, frustration's anger.
Yeah.
Sarcasm's anger, I found out later in life. And then I stopped being so sarcastic. Anyway, isn't it part of a comedian's drive to be kind of angry in some way? And why are they pinning that on you?
Oh, because I'm a woman.
Oh, jeez. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, they always say that. Oh, she's so feisty. Oh, she'll rip your fucking head off. It's like, actually, if you've seen me before...
Well, isn't that weird that I saw it and I was like, why the hell is...
friendly.
Yeah, I was like... It just sounds like a comedian's temperament to me.
No, that's just a man who's written that.
Right.
They go, oh, God, she's a bit frightening. It's like, oh, am I? You know, fuck off.
Do you know of any, arguably Jermaine and Brett, but I can't think of many comedians who don't have that streak of fire in them that makes their performance, if you know what I mean. It's part of what makes a comic brilliant to me.
If you're going to get heckled and you ain't got no fire, you're in trouble.
But also you've got to have something, you've got to have a reason to be up there.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is variations of frustration and observation.
Right. And
you
even
know,
if it's not... it's not outward though. Like all my things are like, God, you know, about my back hurts, and you know, there's a lot of stuff. I'm not explaining it very well.
You're explaining it really well from the get-go.
There's not a lash out at people, you know, and that's what that kind of sounds like to me. Is that she doesn't take fools? That sounds like I lash out at people, and sure, occasionally if there's a really bad heckler, but also I think I have that personality on stage that I do pointedly cultivate, where I don't really get heckled. And my theory is that men want to heckle me, but they don't want to be put down by a woman.
Fuck, we're weird. Humans are weird, man. There's some material in that. There's a routine in that.
Yeah.
God, you'd have some reviewers wondering what to write if you started
I don't really like.
turning that into...
I ask reviewers not to come.
I just find heckling such a funny phenomenon in general, male or female, purple or green. Like, why do you go to fuck up someone's hard work?
But most people don't. Heckling is largely a myth. It doesn't really happen that often.
Yeah, okay.
And the most times it happens,
Booze.
it's actually... But it can be great. You know, if you get like someone just yelling something out, if they're really enjoying it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like bring it
But
on.
yeah, but that's sort of exuberant participation. A heckle to me is like
You suck.
I'm going to break this thing down somehow. Or, yeah.
You were like, I've not had that.
Yeah.
I've not ever had anyone yell like "fuck off," "get off," "you suck," or anything like that.
What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Is it a renaissance? Am I being too romantic? But the amount of gear going on Netflix and so on. What do you think of this kind of boom seemingly overseas? And it seems like a real, is it spilling over to here, the enthusiasm for comedy and the audience numbers and so on? Is what I'm talking about even exist? I just feel like stand-up comedy is really...
But I think that it's been in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think, man, there's been a real... I mean, the classic is busy. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, you walk in there on the weekend and it's like you have to fight your way through to the green room. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I still do the classic as often as I can.
Do you think there's any other form of speech these days that's that free? It's just,
Yeah, music.
Yeah,
Music,
that's true.
Spoken word,
Yeah.
rap, music and
Music
comedy.
and comedy.
Yeah.
That's about it, eh?
Yeah, it's great.
It's interesting.
Oh, good, yeah. It's awesome.
I suppose writing to an extent, but
Right, yeah, absolutely
it's
writing.
the most sort of prominent. There's no like fanboy questions. They're a bit sort of naff, but I'm always interested from the different comedians I've had on because I like just mining what people who are engaged are into. Like, who do you really like comedian-wise? It's probably a bit of a small... you all know each other here locally, so overseas. No, I was going to say overseas. Like, who do you? What have you seen that's wowed you in the last whenever?
Ricky Gervais,
new special.
Yeah, new special. I love Ricky Gervais.
Yeah. Why do you think he's getting so much shit from people at the moment? Opposite
because
kind of
he's
reviews
not
and
playing
stuff.
the PC game,
Right?
Because he doesn't give a fuck.
Because he's in that world and he's not playing the. Oh, good
yeah,
on him. Yeah, I have to go and watch
good on
it.
him for sure. There's always got to be those voices, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at answering that question.
No, that's right. That's fine. It's like me when I used to play a lot of music and people would say, blah, 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 and I can picture a record cover.
I know,
I can't tell you. Sorry. And it's like you go, you know your stuff, but I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of, the women, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I love Amy Poehler. She's probably my favourite. Her book's really good.
She's come over, eh?
Yeah, I think so. You're thinking Amy Schumer.
I am too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I know exactly what you mean, though. She hasn't come over.
No, Amy Poehler's awesome.
We have to backtrack a little bit. We were talking about, you're saying got to women comedians. We're talking about numbers and pretty sort of amazing story about Ursula, right? Sort of rise to fame.
Yeah.
Have you seen many of those in your career? Just sort of come up. Not like that.
No, man. I mean, when I first met Ursula, we are really good mates. And when I first met Ursula, she was copywriting. And we went to Adelaide, what year would that have been? I couldn't tell you. Maybe like 8 years ago or something. And I suggested she come over as the rookie spot on this woman-only lineup. And, of course, she was brilliant. And then from there, she just took off. She works really hard, though. She travels a lot and tours a lot and she goes at it.
I heard her on RNZ and she's done a few shows back home. That's quite interesting. It sounds like she, back in South Africa she's done a show too.
Yeah.
Now, there's an intonation thing here in how I ask this. And I'm not saying, what do you think her appeal is? I'm saying, what do you think her appeal is? And in terms of how that kind of mass... that rise is obviously due to audience response.
Sure.
So what do you think she's got that just connects?
She's got that thing that's hard to put your finger on, I think, with hers. I think she's got the fact that she's a woman, that she is a curvy girl.
Yeah.
I think she's got that she's South African.
I think something about accents in comedy.
Yeah, she's got a lot of strings to her bows.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of different facets. I mean, she appeals to such a broad market.
Yeah.
And she's really good, and she works hard and writes a shitload of comedy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want her life. I wouldn't want that constant touring.
Oh, do you mean that she's just going around and around New Zealand all the time?
Oh, and Australia.
And Australia, really?
She's all over Australia.
So she must have that, aside from all that hard work and her own determination and stuff, it sounds like she's got someone really good business-wise kind of backing her
It's
and stuff.
her.
So it's her.
It's her and her wife, basically.
So they've cracked Australia. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's amazing.
yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. A life on the road is a romantic thing for many until you've done it, and
Sure.
you just want to like.
I mean, we're going down to the
Creature
Queenstown
comforts.
Winter Festival for like 3 nights, and
Yeah.
I've just, it's at the Heritage Hotel.
Yeah.
It's all laid on. It's really great. That's one out of so
Yeah.
many.
And
you
you've
know
done
what I mean?
years of sharing
Yeah.
rooms with other
Oh,
comedians,
horrific.
road
Oh,
food,
horrific. Being the third one in the fucking
vans.
car on the
A
way home.
really interesting thing that Tom, the drummer from Shehad's, got involved with lately is all of that he's been talking about in terms of musician mental health.
Yeah.
And he
yeah.
titled that up, this great paragraph the other day. I hadn't thought about it because I've done it to an extent with different things I've done over the years. And yeah, even when he just said like road food and being in a van and sharing a room, just those three together before I
Totally.
even thought about the late nights,
And you
the
know
booze.
what? It's
I was
the
like,
hours and the hours and the hours.
it's a
and the hours
recipe.
of
It's a
that.
recipe
For
to
the-
fall off the rails, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Have
those
you
things.
kind of struggled over the years at points of your career, not with falling off the rails, but with like, oh my god, this is just too hard as a career based on things like that?
Yes, kind of. I gave up comedy in about 2007 or 8 or something.
Because it's late night, like the musician thing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's
And it's
hard.
partying afterwards
Yeah.
often, and yeah.
But you know that because I'm old now, I just set my own parameters about that.
Yeah.
You know, if people have got
I don't mean
expectations-
now. I don't think now for a second, but I'm saying
No,
back in the day. Yeah.
You know what? I didn't. I've always been I've always been really actively grateful for my mental health.
Yeah.
I've always had a really good balance in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, I've had my times of boozing way too much, and that could have been like about 2 days ago. But no, for me, not really. I've
Yeah.
always had a real sense of self-preservation. I've never screwed the crew. I've always just really.
I think there's lots to it. There's predisposition. There's
there is.
all sorts.
But
you know.
certainly see it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
There's-
yeah.
There are some people who.
That's
Yeah.
right, and I was more meaning that. I mean, I knew this all the years. It's just not till you sort of see it so simply laid out
Yeah.
by something like that article I read with Tom in it. It's like, yeah, it's like upside down land. It's late at
Yeah,
night.
it
It's
is.
sharing. It's being in small spaces with
It's
people.
not-
It's
it's
creativity. It's
Yeah, it's not really real, you know.
Yeah.
Like you don't. If you were like up till like 5 o'clock on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
you know that's not normal. Most people are getting up and going to the gym and going to work, and you're all like fucked up coming home. You know?
Yeah,
Like, that's not
yeah.
normal.
Yeah, but it's fun for a good few years. But those who, I mean, there's Keith Richards, and then everyone else, isn't there, in terms of keeping it keeping it going. You still end up falling out of a coconut tree.
Oh, bless his fucking leathery little soul.
Have you seen them live?
I've seen them live heaps.
Yeah, I got a free ticket and I nearly didn't go, and then I texted my uncle and he was like, "It's the Rolling Stones."
Yeah,
Were you
get your
kidding
ass.
me?
Totally.
And you know, here they were. This is one of the recent tours. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, if they're this good now,
Mate, they're incredible.
I can't imagine.
You know what, Lewis?
Did you go to the last one about 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 years ago?
No, maybe the one before that.
Oh, okay.
I went. Maybe the last one was in Melbourne, actually, quite a long time ago.
Yeah. What were you going to say about them? Sorry, you were going to say, Lewis?
I was going to say, Lewis, you know what? You never regret a concert, and you never regret a swim. That's my life motto.
What about if it's cold?
No, but you know, you go, oh, should I go for a swim? You always enjoy a swim
Yeah, that's true.
and a concert. I'll go to almost anything.
I quite like that. I like a little quote to pluck from the episode. That might be it. Just in finality,
Yes. Oh, we're all going to die.
we're all going to. How was the? Might not be finality. We might go for another half an hour. You never know. Comedy Fest has just been. How was that?
I had the best comedy festival of my life.
Did you do a? You did do a show.
You know what? I did not do a solo show. That's why I had such a good time. Me and Hurley, who's one of my best comedy buddies, we went down to San Fran Bathhouse and did half an hour each in the first week.
Oh, you were based down there for it.
We were for the first week because it
Yeah.
runs to 3. And then we came up here in the second week and I had quite a few really fun hosting things.
Yeah.
And then in the third week I went to all the Billy T shows and judged that for the award. So I just had such a great fun, no real pressure to myself, kind of great time.
How many? I've talked about the Billy T things come up so much on this podcast. so you're not like 7 days. We're not going to get into the.
No, you can't.
No. All I just want to know a few things is how many are there on the judging panel? That's always interesting to know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Are the same number of people nominated every year, or does
Yes.
it vary? How many are nominated?
5.
Who nominates them?
There's a nomination process where they apply
Yeah.
and they go through an interview
Yeah.
where they talk about their show and why they would, how they would use the money, and then they're judged on that presentation, and then they do
Swimsuit.
Then they
Oh,
do,
no, they've dropped that. That's right. That was in the news the other
and
week.
then they do a showcase.
Yeah.
And the judges are there, and you pick who. It's brutal.
It's brutal. It'd be sort of, but not funny, but it'd be an interesting one as well. In that, you sort of you're being judged sort of by your peers and people you probably socialise with, and so you sort of be objective and so on. And so what now? From 90, when was the first one? 94?
Probably 5 or 4.
94, 95?
Yeah.
So we're getting up to, we're up to over 20.
Yeah.
20
and some
winners.
of those have had joint winners as well.
And have they all stayed in the comedy game?
No.
Really?
No, God, no.
Yeah.
No.
And so, what do you reckon? How many people do it for a few? Do more people try it for a few years, or do it as a career?
People stop for different reasons too.
Like we've listed above in the show.
Yeah, a little bit, but it is, judging comedy is fucking arbitrary. It's terrible, because this year we had Two Hearts, which is Joey Moore and Laura Daniels doing.
What do you mean arbitrary?
Well, it's like, it doesn't matter, like I always tried to say to the nominees, and also I hosted the Raw Quest up here during the second week at Q Theatre, and those cats, they were fucking great, and backstage I said to them, look, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I said, try really hard and it's cool if you win. I said, it's not going to do a thing for you. It doesn't matter.
Where it might matter is being able to put that on something for a gig in Australia or something like that, because you do see it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
know what the Billy
That's true.
But I hear what you're saying in terms of panel judging art.
It's not about...
that's sort of what you're meaning, right? It's
yeah,
sort
it
of
is. That is what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
It seems terrible. And also because I've been on the other side of it, so when we've got all the names up on a whiteboard and someone's name just get wiped off, my heart breaks. I'm like,
why don't you make it like the schooling system these days, and like everyone gets a Billy Key award
no, it's going to be brutal.
for trying hardest during the second joke.
If you're trying hardest, then you'll be the best, I reckon.
What do you think about Scott getting? I don't know what I think about royal awards, but at the same time, I think it's pretty amazing that Scott got the.
You know what? I got a little bit dusty in my eye when I read about that.
Yeah,
on
I thought
Facebook.
it was cool.
I love Scott. He's the greatest guy ever.
What is he now? Is it right? Is it not right honourable? Is it? What is it?
I'm not really
Wing
sure.
Commander.
We've decided to call him Your Majesty.
Really?
Yeah, Your Grace. I'm not sure. I don't even know what it is he's got. It's not a Sir, is it?
No, that's like Tories that get. That's Pooh Man gets a Sir.
Oh, fucking Pooh Man.
Thanks for coming in. Is the comedy club still? Is that spot still where you work out most weeks? Do you still see Scott a lot?
I'm going to be seeing Scott if he's there this Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So yeah, I'm still at the Classic a lot, less than I used to be. I think it's more. I don't know. It's your middle ground. Your up and comers. It's just the great.
Someone's got to write a book on it. If he doesn't, he's probably put enough into it.
There is a book coming out. I think it's mainly photographs, but Jason Fowler's doing a book on the Classic that'll be out one of these days.
Okay. Well, I think we got to the loudest ever during Dan's
you made me laugh, Lewis.
red Belle Biv DeVoe
You
pants.
made me laugh a lot, and I have a terrible honker of a laugh. So it's not a ladylike little tinkle, mate. Sorry about it.
I told her who you went to the ball with. Okay?
Yvette.
Yvette, yeah.
That whore.